Introducing Alfried Längle, who MD, PhD, born in 1951 in Austria, founder and long-term president of the International Society for Logotherapy and Existential Analysis in Vienna, scholar and collaborator with Viktor Frankl, professor at Moscow's HSC University and Vienna's Sigmund Freud University, 400 publications, 2 honorary doctorates, 6 honorary professor degrees, and 2 decorations of the Republic of Austria. And very pleased to be welcoming Regina Längle also. Regina completed her formal training in sculpture and photography. Alongside her artistic practice, she undertook training in existential analysis. She now works as an independent psychotherapist and artist in Vienna, integrating her understanding of existential analysis into her artistic approach. And you're both going to present for the next hour on the theme as art as dialogue with the soul. Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for this beautiful conference. I would like to give a bit an introduction into what we can think about on art and on beauty. I have 2 sections, and I will give enough space to Regina with her presentation and her beautiful artistic works. So I try to keep briefly. Let's think a little bit about how can we understand art? What is art? I would say art is a form of language. It's an expression of a person's engagement with, be it with reality or fantasy, with the external or the internal, but engagement. And art provokes, evokes the human being and is therefore creation, creativity, invention. And art from this can only be subjective because it bears the trace of the human being. Otherwise, it's merely art analogies, which may well be beautiful looking random products of a machine. But if it's not subjective, I wouldn't call it an art. Art is confrontation, and therefore dialogical. It attempts to say something in a form of expression, be it sound, color, form, or movement. I want to share my screen here. This is forms, how art can be expressed in forms, but also in colors, in painting, in sounds, in music, in dancing, in movement. And it is expressed in a form that cannot be said in any other way. The German poet Goethe said, art is a mediator of the inexpressible. It attempts to translate the unspeakable into matter. This is creation. It is therefore always also a mediator for the numinous, the transcendent, everything that interweaves, whether felt, fantasized, or believed. Because art always has a connection to humans and their existence, and therefore it is existential in nature. Look at that. These hands, they are touching. They speak to us. When something is existential, then existential is everything that personally affects the human being. Their being, their shaping of existence, their dialogue with the real psychological, spiritual, with the world. Existential is always focusing the subject, the human being. In this sense, I understand Paul Klee, who once wrote in 1920 a beautiful phrase, "Art is making the invisible visible." I cite him, "Art does not reproduce the visible, but makes visible." This is great, isn't it? Art helps people to see, making things, connections, depth, etc. visible. That were things that were not visible before. We can look at this very old statue. We can we can understand this psychologically, this making visible, as a training in phenomenological seeing. And this in turn means that art brings us closer to our essence. I think this is very important. This is what art does with us. It makes us seeing in depth, which means activating our own essence. For it is through our own essence that we can be touched by the essence of others. As the many themes and the many means which are implied by art, it can describe many different themes like suffering, ugliness, brutality, the abysmal, but also healing, happiness, love and hate, the great and the lowly. Everything that happens and forms part of our existence and that we can deal with can be a theme of art. Always from the perspective of a person who wants to say something about what is accessible to them internally, who can say something that expresses something. But a special theme of art is the pursuit of beauty. Look at that beauty. The connection to beauty is a hallmark of humanity. Giving from this intangible concept of is a human longing, this giving form to this intangible concept. This is a longing. Humans have a sense of aesthetics. Through this sense, art gives humans stimulation and tranquility, conversation and silence, strength, comfort, help, depth, and security. Art can convey a lot of themes. Aesthetics is the sense of beauty, of that which appeals to the heart. The aesthetic is pleasing. Pleasing involves distance, through which beauty becomes visible. When viewed, it requires a boundary, a distance from oneself, in order to be able to see beauty. This distinguishes beauty from goodness. Goodness is perceived through closeness, through feeling. Isn't self-esteem also partly about pleasing oneself, about having an aesthetics of our own? Like here in Renoir's picture. Seeing what is beautiful about ourselves, our personality, our behavior, our appearance, and what I can appreciate. What pleases me about myself? In a self-esteem, something of pleasing is contained, because beauty is also truth and authenticity, because it is what I can show, because it is also pleasing to others. This corresponds to Hegel's understanding art accomplishes the feat of making the true appear beautiful and the beautiful appear true. For, and I cite Hegel, beauty is essentially the spiritual expressing itself sensually, presenting itself in sensual existence. The exterior must correspond with the interior in beauty. That is consistent in itself and can thus reveal itself as itself in the exterior. The interior, he says, corresponds with the exterior, and thus the exterior reveals the content, the essence. As we had before with Clay's statement, it makes us phenomenological. And that is genuineness. And for that, one may also make oneself beautiful, give one's self-worth a garment. We care for our hair, for our clothing. When you experience yourself as true and coherent, it is easier to show yourself with this beauty to the person, to the people. People with self-esteem can go out in public. Aesthetic people are, on the other hand, also open to the perception of value. This is what the Greek word aesthesis means, sensory perception, as opposed to noesis, the spiritual perception. So, what can we say is beauty? The existential thesis, I would like to put it as only the essential is beautiful. Beautiful is what is essential. And vice versa. What is essential is beautiful. My own being a person, or when I see the other human being in his or her essence, this is always beautiful, touching. The stylization of the incidental is kitsch in opposition to it. Aesthetics is seeing the essence through beauty, the garment of essence. And because I myself am essentially, as a person, beauty can appeal to me directly. Beauty is immediate. Beauty speaks directly. In summary, in beauty shines through the unique own, the essence of an object. And this has a coherent effect on us, is resonating with our own essence, and invites us to see or seek our own essence. And this is why we need art. It invites us to seek, see, and be our own essence. Kitsch, on the other hand, seduces us with the incidental, creates beautiful feelings, sentimentality, moods, but does not nourish us. It is like popcorn. Art, however, centers us, leads us to the essential and to our essence. Aesthetics in the external, for instance, in decorating the house or clothing, is also art. It reflects the inner search and openness to the essential, to the joy of life. If this everyday art is missing, we lose sight on the person. So let us keep in mind that art is the essential. The essential is beautiful. Sorry, beauty is the essential, and the essential is beautiful. And art incorporates beauty and deals with beauty, but not only with beauty, as I said before, but beauty is an important element in art. Thank you for your attention. And I close with a picture, a photo Regina made some years ago, a beautiful picture. Thank you. I think, Regina, you can just continue.
Thank you, but you have to close your PowerPoint. Wonderful. So I just start. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really excited about this festival because it brings together two of my greatest passions. And today I want to talk about my artistic process in how I work, what moves and inspires me, and how these two passions, art and existential analysis, flow together. Growing up as a daughter of Alfried and Sylvia Längle, I lived in a household where psychotherapy was ever present. As a child, I wasn't consciously aware of it, but looking back now, I believe this fundamental openness that has deeply shaped my life. Learning to truly look at what comes my way, what I perceive outside and inside myself. Art and existential analysis may seem quite different at first glance, but in my work they continually nourish each other. The phenomenological attitude that forms the foundation of existential analysis runs through my entire artistic practice. Through my trained therapeutic eye, I now perceive my artistic process in a much more differentiated way, and I can approach it differently, much more consciously. And also vice versa, my artistic engagement influences my perception and helps me to sense into things more precisely in my therapeutic work. I'm increasingly able to put into words what was previously only intuitively accessible to me. Through art, I try to explore myself, express myself, and communicate. Today, I would like to share this growing insight through the lens of existential analysis with you. So, what happens in the artistic process? How do I approach it? And how can I grasp what's present in me right now? And what's moving inside me? How do I bring it into form? Phenomenology always seeks what's essential, as Alfried said, also for arts, whether it's in the self or in the world. When I grasp something phenomenologically, my essence is touched. For me, the core of artistic work is this encounter between my essence and the essence of what I create or observe. Phenomenology speaks of a threefold openness. So there's, on the one side, the openness towards the outside, so towards the other, the object, the material, or the world. Then there's, on the other side, the openness towards the inside, to one's own resonance and one's own experience. And there's the openness to the process and to the phenomenon itself, to what unfolds without me being able to control it. So I need to let go of my expectations and ideas, to be open to what shows, to the phenomenon that reveals itself. If I'm not ready inwardly, I cannot engage holistically, be open and linger. Taking this stance is a decision, and therefore it requires an active engagement. So it takes courage and trust to embrace the unknown. It takes patience because you have no control over when and how something will reveal itself. And it takes a certain humility, the willingness to submit to whatever emerges, even when it's different than what I expected. As Alfried puts it, it's a willingness towards subjectivity, towards bearing uncertainties. So I will share my screen now. Okay. I think This shows beautifully in an early photographic work of mine. It's a series called Vielleicht, which is a German word play between very light and easy, and perhaps maybe. It was a project during my photography training. The theme was open. I didn't know what to do, and I was simply fascinated by the photographic illusion when someone jumps. It can just look as if they are floating. So I photographed myself floating. But how should I photograph myself? Where should I look at? And what should I do? I had many questions about that. And I'm not athletic enough to photograph myself lying horizontal in the air. I was searching for what felt true to me. So I photographed myself looking and searching. I was exploring my own disorientation in a world full of possibilities, while simultaneously staying open to what comes. It's a search for something that might give me direction, something that helps me find my own path in life. I'm suspended in space, not touching the ground. I'm weightless, literally standing in the air. This doesn't mean I lack support or feel afraid, but I'm not held down either. It's more a releasing from the ground, releasing from the other, being detached, open, and free to discover. I'm fully present for that. I'm there. Also, in the true sense of phenomenology, what happens if I simply look, not primarily standing, but looking? A shift from the sensual, from the physical, from the standing into looking. I'm not the one resting on something solid, but free for whatever comes. Phenomenologically speaking, that was also the essence of my situation at the time, and I grasped it completely intuitively. For me, creating art is a constant conversation and attunement between me and what's before me. My starting point is Viktor Frankl's existential term, life asks me questions. So I'm questioned. And I'm questioned in how I respond, what I do with what comes my way. But I'm questioned and I must answer, and thus also take responsibility for what I do with the situation, with my feeling, what I do with my life. This view of life and my own decision about how I want to shape my life, so that it corresponds to my person, has encouraged me to implement what lives and emerges from within me. It has helped me to stay true to myself and not let myself be distracted by other artists, to only compare myself and dismiss my own work as inferior. My response to my life is unique, and if I don't give it, no one will. It is my very personal response, and that is what matters in my life, regardless on how others see it. So it brings my own life, my own art, back to the center of attention. And comparing myself to others, especially through social media, fades into the background. This means staying true to myself, not orienting myself towards the market, not towards desirable art, but finding my own distinctive expression. In this dialogue, I'm open inwards and outwards. Turning inwards helps me to discover what interests me, what moves me, what occupies me, and how I can convey it to the outside world, how I can express it. On the other hand, my outward openness helps me to feel into a material, the situation, the theme, that I can integrate and synchronize with my intuition. Something speaks to me in a certain way and guides me through my artistic process. It was like that with the next sculpture I want to talk about. It developed out of the current world situation. It was my desire to depict peace. But what does peace feel like in our time? Not as an abstract concept, but something that can be physically felt. Quite quickly, it was clear to me that I wanted to design a dove of peace based on Picasso's. Those I always had in mind, but his doves have a very joyful, triumphant, optimistic and confident expression that doesn't match my current perception. I feel that delicately drawn doves are still fitting these days, but peace is no longer solid, stable and full-bodied. It is no longer the dove of peace that has its fixed place and is unshakable. To me, peace is in limbo, dependent, thin and hollow, emaciated and bony. Peace is fragile. And yet peace still carries a luminous hope and has something soft and tender about it. Peace is not something fairy tale-like that simply exists. There is also hardness involved. It depends on trust, agreements, compromises and diplomacy, etc. Peace and my peace doves do not float on their own. They hang by thin threads. The sculpture, named Fragile Peace, has a wingspan of 47 centimeters, is carved from Carrara marble, and yet it weighs only 600 grams. This means that in most places it is really only a few millimeters thick, and it moves quietly in the breeze. Hanging at eye level, peace is not something sublime. It is human-made, but it can just as easily be destroyed. If you don't pay attention and look away, you can bump your head. Peace does not sustain itself. Peace is dependent. It needs something to hold it in place. The question is, what holds our peace together? And how thin are these threads really? Marble is a material that stands for eternity. So my hope is that peace corresponds to this. And as a psychotherapist, in general, also because I want to look inward, I would like to bring up the fragility of inner peace. This too isn't self-evident and is quickly threatened by conflicts and hurt feelings and fear, etc. There too, it's a constant rebalancing. So to return to the process once more, originally I wanted to draw the dove with a thin line in space, reduced to the most essential. I made several wire models until one felt right. But I wanted to give the marble dove more body. So I constantly had to sense into it and slowly feel my way towards the final form, in continuous exchange with myself and with my intuition. So only when I was sure of the next step did I grind away more. When I was still uncertain, I let the wire model and the stone block work on me further. Sometimes I had to be brave and simply risk something, because I couldn't concretely imagine what the next cut would look like. But I knew at that point I had to try it. To really show the fragility, I had to push the material to its limits. It's a balancing act between what the material offers and what develops as a form. And this form develops in a dialogue between me, my intuition and my imagination, and also the stone, until a feeling of coherency sets in. Sometimes, though, it's not so clear to me what speaks to me. A form emerges and develops. And only in retrospect can I place it in my life situation at that time and understand it and myself. Then I'm more accessible to myself, because I see myself from the distance of time, because I'm different now and yet the same. This is what happened to me with this figure, which is called Flow of Thoughts. It's made of black marble named Nero Marquina. When I work with stone, I don't have just any stone in front of me, but a specific stone. It has its own nature, its shape is unique. It has its own quirks, and in a way it is composed, but also one that I have to get to know, that I open myself to, that I approach cautiously. When I made a sketch out of wire, I had this block in front of me, thinking, considering, sensing into it, until this model emerged, intertwined, circling, dividing and merging organic forms, in motion and at rest at the same time, occupied with itself. The material speaks to me. The precise form develops only during the work, not as a copy of a finished idea. It is once again a dialogue. The sculptor, Anthony Craig, also describes his artistic process this way. The sculptor learns from the material and is always in dialogue with it. Therefore, the outcome is usually unexpected. The artistic process is always connected with development. This also means that the material has an influence on the artist, and thus it also changes them too. So I'm always in this dialogue with my inner and outer world. And that's the foundation. I relate to this world and to myself. I remain open to the process and towards the outcome. It is essential that I remain truly open and do not get caught up in wanting something or drifting into my own insecurities or fantasies. This can lead to very ambivalent feelings, and then I'm no longer fully present. When I start wanting something, I mess up the work. When I despair and become impatient, I only make what's gone wrong worse. Then I'm no longer in a dialogue with my work. I'm trying to impose something on it. So in such moments, I try to become aware of this, to face myself and not let my openness be taken from me. All kinds of emotions are allowed to be there. They are all allowed to flow into the work, but I can't make it. Then it becomes too deliberate, too thought out. Then the dialogue suffers, my feeling for the work and for myself, my capacity for resonance is limited. The work has to flow through me. Only then does it become mine, truly authentic. Almost as if I was only breathing life into the sculpture through that, to bring it to life through my resonance. A work that tells my story of inner change is self-love. A sculpture I first modeled in clay and later transferred to Carrara marble using the 3-compass method. You can see some of those compass that I used for on that picture. The initial feeling was one of being alone. But during the creative process with the clay model, something else developed. It is a turn towards myself. So despite all the edges and corners, I want to be able to have a good relationship with myself. Standing by my side, taking me in my arms, giving me affection, giving myself the support that I need, holding myself with oversized hands. The head with 2 faces nestles against its own body. I am my own counterpart. It gets comfortably warm, heartfelt and good. So the process of creation deepens this turning towards myself. When working with stone, I experience a deep sense of calm and contentment because I cannot rush the work. It simply takes the time it takes. This gives it a meditative quality. And that makes it valuable and meaningful to me from the start. By being open to what develops, I encounter something I could not have anticipated before. This allows me to be surprised by myself. This work also shows how my inner dialogue has changed, influenced by existential analysis. I have become more accepting and permissive in my dealing with myself. I feel less at the mercy of circumstances. I can shape my path better. I have become the creator of my situation and can rely on myself. This leads to more self-confidence, and as a result, I also dare to be more open about my more intimate art. For me, art is an existential dialogue. A dialogue between myself and the material. A dialogue between the inner and the outer world. And a dialogue between creation and letting go. Alfried already quoted Paul Klee, but I put it into my last sentences as well, so I will just repeat it. Art does not reproduce the visible, rather it makes visible. And the phenomenological approach allows the essential to reveal itself. And my art makes visible what lives in me. So in this dialogue with myself, with the material, and with you as the viewer, something new emerges. Yeah, thank you. So it's you, Alfried, again.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you. I'd love to hear you talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
I saw, Alfried, you were very moved at some point seeing your daughter doing this amazing work and speaking about it in such an articulate way as well. What is that like for you as a father to see how she is able to manage both the sculpting and the emotional understanding of what that process is about? It's so complete, isn't it?
Yeah, you bring it to the point. It's really, when I see her working, it's just a laugh because I see her so engaged and melting with her object through the different tools she applies. But it is what Regina describes. I can see it from the outside when I see her working. She is in dialogue, and I'm a bit shy to speak with her, to not interrupt this dialogue. Okay, for some moments it's okay, but in general it has something special. It is like an aura around her, and what I say as a father, I don't know. I see her. I don't see me. I see how she works and what she creates. And this is so, yeah. Of course, I feel close to her. Of course, I resonate with her. But the work itself speaks, and I'm just happy that she's my daughter. That's all I can say. But I wanted to give some little thoughts or comments. I think, Regina, how you describe the process of artistic work, this is really a form of you are exposed to something what is going to happen, what you are not producing. Of course you are active, but you are not making the essential of the art. The essential of the art happens to you, as I understand it. And it happens through this dialogue which you have with the object, with maybe not so much with the photographies, but with the marble, and you are painting also, or drawing, and so, and this, I think this is something miraculous, that we open up, you as an artist, you open up and you let enter something which is, I don't know where, in the air or in between, and something, you give space that something can emerge which goes beyond our own will, our own decision. It is a form of exposure to something great, what we cannot grasp in other forms, then, or in such a good form, than we can grasp in art. Philosophy is beautiful, but I don't think that philosophy is an art. Philosophy is handwork, is craft. Yeah. And with your pictures, you showed how you expanded your freedom. You were quite young at that time, I remember, and you were working on independence from the given, from what is already there, to stand above, or to lift above, and to come into flight into life, somehow like that. This was my impression at that time. And the pigeon, the whole beauty of this pigeon, you can understand it only when you have it in hand. It is incredible, a stone with almost no weight, and it is, it was born by thoughts originally, and of course you had Picasso, and you criticized Picasso, and you thought you have to make a modern way of peace. You disagree somehow? What do you want to say? Something, Regina?
I didn't. I think Picasso's stuff were right for that time, but now it changed to me in my perception. So I wouldn't criticize this in general.
How did it change? How did it change?
So from that piece is something very stable and confident and looking into a bright future, to now being more in being a fragile. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a dialogue first with a wire. I remember you worked for days on this wire, and you made little changes. I didn't even notice which changes it were, but you were really in a loving relationship with this wire. And I was always wondering, what will this become at the end? And then you transferred it into stone, and you adapted the wire, and then you adapted the stone. You were in a dialogue. Again, it flew by itself, and you were just open to it. And the black stone, the black marble, the flow of thoughts is, I love it. It is, I can look at it for hours. It is inspiring. There are endless thoughts. It is thoughts which are fused, which are crossing, and which never end at the same time. It's this is how philosophy is a bit. And the self-love is really touching, with all these edges and the big hands, and again this it helped you to form your inner dialogue, as you say, and I feel it when I look at this marble piece, and before to the clay, and the marble is even more beautiful, I think, because of the material. So Regina, thank you. I don't know if you want to add something or to say something to what I mentioned now.
Well, it's beautiful as a daughter to listen to you and how touched and moved you are about it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for what you do
Yeah.
in that.
Thank
And
Maybe.
can I ask you, Regina, when you tell us about the process of, discovering the sculpting, as it were, it sounds as if you are also doing an internal process, as if you are working on yourself in the sculpture, and that when you finish the Dove of Peace, you have changed something to yourself, to your heart, to the openness inside of you. Am I over-interpreting, or does it feel like that to you?
that I changed something in my heart through that. I think through those sculptures, sometimes, well, with the Dove of Peace, I had this fragility in mind, so it was already kind of just corresponding to what I felt. So it was maybe bringing into life what was there for me already. But I had no perception before what it would really look like. So I get surprised as well, because the form just develops by working. But like in the flow of thoughts, I didn't have an idea before, and I didn't understand it. I just had this idea of the form, so I was just creating and working on it. And now, a couple of years later, when I look back, it's like, oh, of course. And I was so caught up in my own thoughts the whole time, and it was just repeating and repeating myself. Yeah. So it felt like, yeah, this was my situation at the time, but I didn't understand it back then. So why would I do these circles? No idea. They come to me right now. Yeah.
Now it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I just wondered, though, if when you were working on that, somehow you healed something about the looping of your thoughts by allowing them to be cut in stone and to be opened up more and to become more visible and more malleable. Has that changed, that process you were caught up in your mind?
Well, I'm not anymore caught up in that process that I was back then.
Yes.
So maybe it helped me to heal that or to finish it up or something.
Yes, but you're not sure about it.
No, because, I don't know, if I didn't make the sculpture, I don't know what I would be like right now. But
yes, we can't do the experiment.
In your statue self-love, there was something what Amy mentions, that it had a feedback loop on yourself and your own development.
Yeah, this one, that's true. Yeah, that was also the self-love sculpture I made while I was in existential analysis training. It was during the time, and I remember at one point I was like, I think I was working on this before, and at one point had this decision. So now I want to be different to myself. I want to change. I want to talk differently with myself. This is not good. I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah.
So I had this before, and it was like a path that worked already towards this decision before. So the clay model I made before and the marble sculpture I did afterwards, after this decision for myself. Yeah, so this is, this really changed me as well, being really more open to myself.
And it's very tangible, isn't it? Because you have the living proof of that process. And here it is. This is who you are now. You are good to yourself. And you see it.
Hands.
Yes, every day. You see it, you touch it.
Yes.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, big hands give a lot of stability, right?
Yes.
It shows the strengths that you have.
Absolutely.
It feels to me like that. Maybe also because I'm a sculptor. So
this is it. This is what occurred to me, that sculpting is such a powerful thing to do. It is such hard work in a way, and it becomes so clearly an object, doesn't it? It's literally
Beautiful.
making something in stone.
Mhm.
It's like lawmaking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good, nice idea.
Now it's written in stone.
Yeah,
That means,
exactly. Yeah.
it's like the testaments they're
Self-care
done.
written in stone forever.
Mhm.
Well, it's fantastic. Thank you
Should we
so
open up?
much.
Should we open up to the public?
Yes, John?
We've got about another 8 or 9 minutes, so yeah, I wonder what's here with us, what anybody might be thinking in the chat.
We've had some amazing comments in the chat. Have you seen them?
I
Wonderful
haven't written
comments.
it down yet.
And maybe we could open the mic, so if anybody wanted to unmute and maybe share a reflection or ask a question, you'd be really welcome to. So Sebastian, maybe you can do that for us. Some lovely appreciation in the chat for what you're both bringing tonight. So yeah, really.
Thank you.
Saying they're very moved by it. Several people are saying that, and I felt the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very heartfelt, I think.
Yeah. In the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, Kirk, I can see you've got your hand up. Let's see if we can.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you very
Kirk.
much, Alfried and Regina.
Thank you.
Lovely presentation. I was wondering just to, I think it was implicit, but to bring out a little more explicitly the unsettlement element of the art, the element of anxiety, of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
You did imply some of these things. I'm wondering if you have anything more to say about, and Alfried, when you talk about beauty, does beauty, as Rilke put it, have a terror to it as well? I think Rilke puts beauty and terror together in some way. Just curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, Regina?
The anxiety of working, I think I'm still trying to think of what you mean exactly, which part?
I guess I'm referring to your works of art and works of art generally, and what they evoke in us. Did these works of art that you have both immersed in evoke feelings of apprehension in some way, as well as exuberance and healing?
Apprehension and exuberance? I don't understand.
Well, the thrill of the unknown,
to explore
the thrill and anxiety of the unknown. In other words, is anxiety an integral element to your sense of aesthetics?
You mean that if anxiety is somewhere also included when she works or when she tries to express something, is there anxiety around?
Yes, and in your definition of beauty as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety when you're making a very fragile dove of peace and you're not sure whether the next time you hit that hammer on the stone it might break. No? I imagine that's very tender and quite anxiety provoking sometimes.
Yeah, it can be that, but I had that feeling, well, when the anxiety when working with the dove came up, I had that feeling, okay, now I have to let that go as well. I have to be cautious, yes, but I have to let it go and just develop. Otherwise, I would be maybe too anxious to continue working on it.
Wow.
And then I wouldn't really make it the way that I feel that it is correct, the that it is coherent then. So I also had in my mind, so if this stuff breaks, then I will make just a conceptual art out of it, a different kind of piece. Then you have the broken piece, right? So with this in my mind, I felt kind of, okay, in one way or the other, something will develop. And if not, that's the risk. But yeah, like I said, I had to be brave sometimes and just try it, just do it. And I had to breathe deeply. It's like, okay, now I just tried this. And if this doesn't work well, then I have to change it somehow and find a different way also. But I had to do this next card, otherwise this would never be finished. So yeah, it was this kind of exciting because the stone, it's not like with the clay model, I can just change it over and over again.
It's once, isn't it? Yeah.
But also like with the swords of the blow of swords, it broke once because it fell over and one wing went off.
Oh.
So I had to learn how to glue it very stable together again. Wow. And with this experience, I felt like, okay, well, it's still, I can still make it work somehow if I find a way. If it was broken differently, I might have not been able, well, then it was lost. But maybe I could have changed it then completely also. So I always had to work what's there.
Yeah, it's a bit like what Ben was saying about improvisation, isn't it?
Yes,
to
exactly.
be prepared for whatever comes and trust that you'll make something of it, no matter what.
Yeah, and I have to accept this reality 100%. As I found that very fitting.
There's a fragility there.
Yeah.
And your question, Kirk, towards me, for me, is a big question. When I stated that, in my understanding, beauty is the essential, or only the essential is beauty. Beauty contains the essential. When we perceive an essence, is there anxiety around? Or is it a place where we are an island out of anxiety? Anxiety, in my understanding, is seeing an abyss, seeing a possibility to fall, to lose, or whatever, something out of the being, falling out of the being. And in the phenomenological perception, we are fully in the being, and therefore phenomenology, or this phenomenological procedure, and the experience of beauty is so healing, because it brings us fully back into being, into full being. The philosophers and so to think about that. But in my understanding, when I see a beauty, this is healing. And when I discover something essential, then I can be fully there. And this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you see it the same way, or?
Yeah, I resonate with what you say. I just wonder, I guess I feel that the full beauty and that healing includes a sense of apprehension at times, a sense of maybe death, fragility, loss, sadness. I mean, these so-called dysphoric emotions can very much be a part of beauty for me. Rilke says something about beauty is but the beginning of terror, which we can't quite grasp. Something like that. I'm not sure I go to that extent, but well, you know, it brings up the question of what is healing, what is full immersion in being.
Wholeness. There are two people with their hands up. Maybe we should bring them in.
Yes, let's see if we can open Timothy and Helen's microphones, and maybe we do another 5 minutes or so to make sure everybody's got a little break too. Timothy, can we come to you first? Would that be all right? Oh, we've got you on mute. Let's see if we can open your microphone.
Okay, thank you very much. I was very touched by this story, and now when you, Regina, when you talked about how you glue the wing that was broken, it touched me really again, and I realized that when we create something, so we are also open for the, and Kirk said it now, we are also open for the pain of beauty. And we have to go to unknown places. We don't know. We will make this journey to touch different kind of pains of a stories. They are open because what I believe is that creativity, when we speak about that we can improvise. Improvisation is also openness for pain and possible sadness that is deep. You know,
yeah.
we don't know whether the wing would be broken or not. So it's such a beautiful message what you brought. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think all emotions, if they are really true, then they are in a way beautiful, because they feel, I feel touched by them. I'm moved. So when I'm moving, it's beautiful. It doesn't matter in which way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Helen, can we hear from you too, please?
Yes, I wanted to reiterate something I said in the chat, but furthermore, since just hearing your responses now to Emmy and Timothy, the whole hearing you both speak, I have to say I'm easily seduced by the Viennese accent. So this may have a bearing. I was utterly embracing and fully immersed, but it was more than that. Your whole presenting and speaking, as Emmy said, was heartfelt, both of you, and to see your I was feeling a bit of your relationship as father and daughter as well, and the whole thing was so heartfelt and therefore vulnerable. It just embodied beauty, and it was very, very moving. I can see lots of people have felt that, and it was just so beautiful. And you were speaking about beauty and vulnerability and being open inside and out, and well, that's what my experience of you both was just now. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm thinking we've come up to time for our session, and I want to add my thank you also both to you, Regina and Alfried. What a wonderful, wonderful session. Now, we're really in the festival of life and energy and emotion and wonderment. So
this was exactly what the festival is about. You have just brought it out like a firework. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.